Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, thank you.
I'm doing great too, and I'm anxious to chat with you about the show Trafficked on National Geographic. Um,
I,
Tell me a little bit about how you developed the show, how you found it.
Not easy to develop for sure. It's an access driven show. So it's months, sometimes even years of planning and trying to get access to these worlds. The idea behind it was I've been focusing and sort of reporting on the black markets around the world for over 15 years, my almost my whole career as a journalist. And I gained a realization that there's so much information out there about the formal economy, and yet we know so little about the informal economy, these black and gray markets. The drug trade alone, for example, brings in over $300 billion. And so the idea behind the show is to shine a light into these worlds and see what knowledge we can gain from how they work, but also who are the people behind these black markets, who are the traffickers, who are the smugglers, and what can we learn from them.
What strikes me is that you are a very brave person because you put yourself into places no one gets to go. And I mean, do you feel your life's in danger from time to time?
I wouldn't say that I feel my life's in danger. I don't think any story is worth a life, that's for sure. And there's a lot of work that goes into minimizing the risk. I mean, a lot of training, a lot of plans put in place to minimize the risk. However, there are moments where what I call the uncomfortable moments where things don't go as planned. You know, there was a few situations. One, we were filming an illegal cocaine lab in the Vrame Valley in Peru, and they told us that we'd been spotted by the locals and that they weren't happy we were there and they were going to come after and possibly harm us. So we had to run out of there with our whole gear. There's another moment where we almost got caught in the crossfire between the Sinaloa cartel, whom we were filming with, and the Marines that were approaching. And so it was a really sort of anxious and uncomfortable moment for myself and my team. But yet, with the show, we want to show all of that. We sort of really pull back the curtain and show the viewers how hard it is to gain access into these worlds, and then also what happens when things don't go as planned.
What do you think is the biggest misconception we have about this other economy?
That it happens in very far away lands and in hidden locations. And that is absolutely not true. Black markets are all around us. They're very widespread. They're very prevalent. A few of the scenes that I filmed for this show actually happened just a few miles from my home in Los Angeles. We saw a car being loaded with illegal firearms, AK-47s and AR-15s, again, just a few minutes from my house, and being sent down to Mexico. We spent time with sex traffickers and pimps, also very close to my house. I think the idea is that we realize that even not only big cities, but you go to small towns around America and around the world, and you will find black markets operating. And usually in areas where there's more of a lack of opportunity, where there's inequality and poverty, it is easy grounds to find people who are willing to do this sort of job.
And you point out in one of the episodes that some of these guys were billionaires long before we even knew there were billionaires.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made. I mean, again, billions and billions of dollars. And while there's money to be made, black markets will continue to exist. There was one Jamaican scammer that we spoke to who told us money is the root of all evil, and he's right. And in some cases it's because of lack of opportunity. It's because people can't find another way to feed their families, and we've seen this now. We've been reporting throughout COVID, and we've seen that black markets have absolutely exploded, and that's because there's been an economic downturn and people have been losing their jobs. And on the other side of the coin, it's also in large part, the motivation behind all of this is greed. It's people wanting more and more money.
Well, like any con man, I mean, they have to have, people that they can, prey upon. And how do we educate ourselves? I know watching the show probably would do a lot of that, but how do we educate ourselves against scams and cons and all of this going on?
I would say that when it comes to scams, having spent so much time with the people on the other side of the phone, I've received so many of these phone calls. I have friends who have been scammed, who were told that it was the power company that was calling them, and they were going to cut the power if they didn't pay the past fees, and they did. So this is happening. I think we tend to think that it happens to. That it would never happen to us, but that's not the case. It can happen to you. So just be very careful. Make sure that you know who's on the other side of the phone. Make sure you know who you're paying when you're online making purchases. Knowledge is always key.
Mariana, I want to thank you for your time this morning. The show is Trafficked, and it is just an amazing investigative journalism show. You guys do a lot of interesting work. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
This celebrity interview is sponsored by...
I'm Annette Civarella with Pia Anderson Moss Hoyt, Utah's leading entertainment law firm, serving clients nationwide. We provide solid, attentive representation focusing on minimizing risk, reducing cost, and protecting the reputation and privacy of our clients. Our goal is to provide you with the legal representation you need to make the right decisions and to protect you and your creative works. Call or email me for a free consultation.